Hope everyone met some new folks at lunch and that you are back and raring to go for this afternoon's sessions. I'm Laura Raicovich. I'm the Director of Global Initiatives here at Creative Time. And 18 months ago, I started to think about how Creative Time could create innovative platforms to expand artists' roles in society, to broaden our reach internationally, and to build community around creative work that's focused on taking up the challenge of the most important social and political issues of our times. From the very beginning, exchange and participation have been at the core of this thinking, focusing on multilateral conversations rather than simply broadcasting ideas. And thus began the experiment that includes all of you sitting here and the tens of thousands of you watching via live stream. Thank you all for being part of this incredible conversation. And we've been listening to your feedback, which has helped to completely improve this year's summit. You asked for more flexible pricing, and you got it with our Pay What You Choose tickets. You asked for more varieties of formats on stage, and you got it with our In Conversations and our moderators and short films and regional reports. You asked for more social space. Oh, and you got it. Judson Church is just a block away, and we've transformed that space into an indoor commons with an outrageous number of Legos for you to play with, thanks to Paul Ramirez-Jonas. So use it to meet people before the talks begin, during the day, or any time in between. And I just have to shout out Works Progress Administration because they're awesome. And not only are they organizing the Shadow Summit, hold on, but some of you came here on Board-a-Board, which was an Amtrak car that barreled, which was full of artists, that barreled from the Midwest to New York City. And yes, they also had cake and workshops. And many of you just took part of our summit lunch. Thank you to Stephanie and Mihir for an outrageous six-borough experience. It definitely got me thinking about the kind of ever-shifting landscape of culture and cuisine and how they kind of create a much more layered perception of our cities. And since we're always thinking about exciting ways to expand the conversation, this year we've organized summit dinners, taking the conversation into the homes of friends and family of Creative Time and adding presenters and food and drink. And we're delighted that so many of you are going to check those out tonight. And this year's summit is really determined to feed all of your senses. Not only do we have Invincible on stage tomorrow, and throughout the conference have musicians, including the Saw Lady, who's awesome, from Music Underground, which is New York City's official subway music. But we also have our first ever crowdsourced summit playlist, which you can download from the Creative Time website. And then, on Sunday, after the summit officially wraps here at Skirball, we've organized with some amazing friends and partners around the city a series of walking tours and workshops that will keep the momentum going. There's a list of these Sunday events in the program, and here they are on the screen as well, and you can just follow the links and sign up on the website, but they're gonna be amazing. And just to give you a little bit of flavor, you can choose from a radical tour of Alphabet City to riding your bike on the Tour de Bronx. We've also created a summit reader this year that includes some key texts addressing the core issues of culture's intersections with urban development, and it can be found on creativetime.org. And sorry, I went a little too fast on that. On Creative Time Reports, which is celebrating its very first anniversary this year. This month, I'm sorry. You can find a series of really fantastic dispatches by Rick Lowe, David Byrne, and Rebecca Solnit, who all have written or done interviews and other stuff about really central topics to this year's summit, and you'll also find lots more. This year's summit has also been a catalyst to convene a group of people in collaboration with the Applied Research Center. Today, we're kicking off a series of ongoing discussions about race, culture, and cities with the goal of participating in next year's Facing Race conference, which will take place in Dallas. And as Anne mentioned, as of last night, we have over 70 art spaces and community organizations and universities all over the world, literally, from Morocco and Kathmandu to St. Louis and Mexico City. And a bunch of them will be conferencing live with some of the presenters today, which is kind of amazing. And we're just thrilled that the summit is being shared this far and wide. So to all of you out there on live stream, that's for you. And speaking of screening sites, our focus on exchange and participation has been, as I mentioned, at the core of a lot of our thinking. And you probably remember last year we had a debate about whether the summit should have been boycotted under the guidelines of the Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions Against Israel due to the inclusion of an Israeli screening site. As a result of this robust discussion, Creative Time engaged in a year-long listening and learning process. And after many conversations, roundtables, and debates, we've drafted a set of principles, including our core beliefs in the free and open exchange of ideas, paired with universal human rights and the upholding of international rights, human rights law. You can find this statement, which is a work in progress, on the summit portion of Creative Time's website. And this deeply focused work has been incredibly rewarding and has also relied on the generosity of a number of individuals I would just like to acknowledge for their thoughtfulness, wisdom, and straight talking. Omar Barghouti, Jeff Chang, Joyce Dubensky, Hamilton Fish, Invincible, Dinah Pokaempner, Rhoda Rosen, Lawrence Weschler, and Creative Time's own Karima Stefan, among many others, really, really helped in this very focused effort. And further embracing the spirit of exchange and participation, it's been a dream to bring the summit to an international destination and to really tap into powerful new perspectives. With that in mind, I'm delighted to announce that the 2014 Creative Time Summit will be held in Stockholm in collaboration with the Public Art Agency of Sweden. And Magdalena Malm, who's here, who's the director and curator, there she is. Stand up, Magdalena. Magdalena is the agency's amazing director and curator who Nato and I have been super psyched to be talking to and working with. And she's here with us today, and anyway, we're really excited to be working with her over the next year. The summit in Stockholm will highlight profound and radical art practices and the social and political issues they address. And we'll be delving into some very important pan-European issues and really digging into the international flavor of the summit. And having the summit abroad, obviously, will really further our aim to ensure that the big ideas raised here at the summit can make contact not only with new audiences, but further expand the international community of artists, thinkers, students, and activists that are engaged in this discourse. So stay tuned for more info. So when I began working at Creative Time, I knew I had signed up for an adventure. But what I didn't know was how many generous, talented, and outrageously intelligent people I would have the privilege of encountering along the way, including so many of you here in the audience today. I've been really honored to work with Sally Sved, or as we call her, Summit Master. Sally, you're totally amazing wherever you are. And I also just want to thank Dion Sugrim for his exceptional help this year. And by the way, I don't know if anybody mentioned it, but the Creative Time staff painted this stage set. And while you were all at lunch, it grew. So as Anne always says, Creative Time is an artist-driven organization, and many organizations make this claim, but I can tell you that Creative Time lives it. We want to hear from you. We want to get to know you. So when you get that summit survey from us next week, please fill it out. We really want to know who you are, what you're doing, where you're doing it, and how you're doing it. And also, don't forget that we're always looking for your ideas. Apply for our open calls through the summit, as well as send your ideas to Creative Time Reports. We're always looking for new stuff. We want to know what you're thinking and doing. And so now, without further ado, I'm going to introduce the wonderful, the amazing Risa Wilson.